Welcome back. We're talking about critical evaluation, and we've been looking at some of the techniques that are used in writing to create support or to create hostility against somebody. So critical evaluation is looking for emotive language, for bias, for prejudice. We talked in the last segment of the use of pronouns, and I want to add to that the use of names to position the speaker and the audience. What do we mean by that? To show where you stand. Your position is where you stand. So we talked about using us and them, shows your position. Let's look at nouns for a moment. A noun names something, and I've given you some examples there. I'm sure you remember that nouns are naming words. And a pronoun stands for a noun. There are the personal pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. But nouns and pronouns can be used to position the speaker. So nouns can be used to label people. Now, you know what a label is, like you get a label on products in a supermarket. Let's look at labeling. If I call people communists, I am labeling them. Now, very often, that word can be negative. Obviously, it can be used positively, but you need to look in the piece of writing that you are reading and say, are we positioning ourselves with communists or against communists? It's a labeling word. Similarly, terrorists. The minute I call you a terrorist, I have labeled you as violent, immoral, somebody who doesn't care what they do to achieve their aims. Another labeling word, demonstrators, agitators, activists. Now notice, these three words are very, very similar. If you look them up in a thesaurus, you could get them as synonyms, but they're not quite synonyms in their connotations. So remember, with a synonym, it might be a word that has a similar meaning, but often the connotation, the feeling associated with the word is different. Agitators implies that you are negative about them. Activists implies that you are positive about them. Demonstrators, I'd need to see the passage. And finally, hobos. If you call people hobos, you are labeling them. Let's look at the sentence. The soldier was speaking to the journalist. Now, soldier really has only the connotations of a fighter. Doesn't really tell you if the speaker is in favor of the man or against him. Was speaking to the journalist. That doesn't really tell you either how he was speaking to the journalist. So that sentence is fairly factual and objective. However, if we then change this word and we say something like the freedom fighter, how have we positioned ourselves as the writer? Are we in favor of that soldier or are we against him? Here we're in favor of him. Then if we look at speaking to the journalist, if we said he was persuading the journalist, do you see that we would then again be positioning ourselves in favor of the freedom fighter? It would be very different if I said the soldier was ranting at the journalist. To rant is like to shout without thinking, and it all just pours out and you don't give the other person a chance to stop and say anything. Ranting. If I said he was arguing with the journalist, it would make him more aggressive. If I said something like he was attacking the journalist, I would make that as well quite negative. The soldier was attacking the journalist. Now my sympathies would be more with the journalist. Look at this sentence. The learner was relaxing and his parents were concerned about his marks. Relaxing isn't that negative, but what if I said the learner was lazy How am I positioning myself? I am now against the learner. The parents are concerned. That's not very strong. Some sympathy with the parents. But if I said the parents were anxious about his marks, that would make the parents much more worried and would make the learner's laziness of much greater concern. She was interested in what I was doing. How does that position me? I am in favor of her. I like the fact that she's interested. I welcome her interest. What if I said she was interfering in what I was doing? The word interfering now positions me as against her. I'm saying, why is she poking her nose in where she's not wanted? So what we've been talking about in this segment is how language positions the speaker or the writer. It shows whether the speaker or the writer is in favor of someone or against someone, because the words are emotive. They show feelings. So you can see the difference between interested and interfering. What we've been looking at is the idea of critical reading, and the focus has been on emotive language. So focus on the emotive language to see the bias or the positioning of the speaker or the writer. From me, bye-bye.